Steve, what's going on?
The show. Let's start the show, Andy. How you doing?
Yes, doing good. Hi, Scott. Hi, everybody.
Really big show. Hey, Jason. I see your note. I also saw your email. Thanks very much. I'll get into that in a second there when it's appropriate. All right, trade of the week. Can't believe it's another week flying past so quickly. All right, let's get started as the regulars file in. Just a reminder, Andy and I trade our own accounts, and we also work for trade ideas, and we've got our own opinions. And so none of those really should be mixed together and construed on your end as financial advice. If you need the old financial advice, you got to go to the money managers, people who look at the whole picture of what your situation is. You know, we're all different. So disclaimer out of the way. As I said, we've been using trade ideas for a very long time, and we recognize how, I'm not going to use the word intimidating, but I'll say it could be intimidating for a new user who's not really sure about where to go, and that's normal. It depends on how you want to use the program, which roads you go down, which doors you open, but the best place to start is always with Barry's live trading room to help get you going, help shorten the learning curve. And then every 24 hours, Monday through Friday, we take over his room and we live stream it on YouTube at 12 noon Eastern, and you get a different set of eyeballs. And sometimes, you know, a different set of eyeballs really can help drive a point home or illustrate something that maybe another person couldn't have done. So you're getting a great bouquet of the Trade Ideas trading staff every day, noon Eastern. If you just show up to this link down there, trade-ideas.com/live is a redirect link. And I always say, once you go there once, YouTube knows you like it and they will continue to serve it up. Oh, good question, and it deserves an explanation. What happened to office hours yesterday? Dave, if you were aware, we had kind of a platform crash on Trade Ideas right around the close yesterday, and that lasted a good hour, and so we were busy getting our platform back online, and it's just too hard to do a webinar if we don't have a platform to reference. So sorry for the late surprise, but nonetheless, we are here today. All right, so YouTube knows once you show up to the live noon live cast, live stream, and will always remind you if you log back in how to get back. All right, another week of discussing the markets, another week of just reminding you that it's a human and machine symbiotic relationship. One really can't do it without the other these days. And there's always a really good example in the AI. The human beings can seem to make better exits than they can in the AI, whereas the AI might be able to find some better ideas in real time. So it's a great partnership, and it just marries up very well to what we do over here, as well as everything else in life, whether it's energy or medicine or what have you. Humans and machines are working together to get the right curated data in front of our faces, and as humans make the final authority. All right, let's get started here. Oh, hopefully you can hear us now, Jennifer. 27th of July market recap. I'm just going to start going through the sectors. I think, you know, Andy reminds me that that is a valuable kind of a segment, and it probably is best to just kind of do that when I'm looking at the markets. That makes sense. So we'll do that on the front loaded side this time and going forward. AI recap is usually something Andy has a few ideas to discuss about what happened over in the AI world today. The trade of the week is treating us okay, which is really nice. No, not giving us a lot of angst. And then, as who was it? Jason pointed out, we'll grab a chart. I don't know what's going on, but SPRT was trade of the week 3 weeks ago, based on, you know, waiting for that short squeeze, and I think that short squeeze has come. Looking good after hours. Okay, we're going to go over a new scan or two, perhaps, for day trading. And then we'll drive a couple other points home that's really all related there. We'll come back to that. So let's get started. Yeah, there's support.com. This was a trade of the week a couple weeks ago. It was a signal candle right there. Was our signal candle. Gave us a great second day and then a lot of volatility, but never really went below the suggested stop. And then this is when the market started to figure out, and now we're up here at 8:35 after hours. I've seen some different readings on that, but short float anywhere from 38 to 55% is kind of what's floating around out there, but I think the short squeeze is on. And what I mentioned to Jason in the email reply was you can't take your eyes off of some of these things, especially the low floaters. I don't know what's going on over there, Jason. It's probably news. Obviously, I don't even know what the news is. Can we look left? First thing we want to do is look left. and we see 946. Did 946 come into play already? I just want to see that, because if it did, no, it got close, but I'll tell you, Jason, this is probably where you want to start being a seller of at least some of it, if not a good chunk of it, because you're probably going to find sellers up here at the 935 level. All right, not to digress too much, we'll get back in line here with the S&P 500. We'll do the market recap. Let's see, where were we last week? We talked about that bounce coming off the 50-day moving average, and just hasn't looked back all the way into today. Even a little tidy work here with a little gap and possibly a gap and fill there. Seems like we can't get too many days in a row without pulling the rug for at least half the day on the market and seeing what it's made of. Looks like it's declining a little bit after hours, not holding as much of that bottoming tail. Let's look at what's happening over there in the NASDAQ. Another bottoming tail as well. Looks like it's also giving up a little bit after hours. Is there some earnings that are happening after
Yes,
hours?
Microsoft and Apple were probably the two big ones, both trading down.
Yeah, interesting.
Apple not
Okay.
so much, but yeah, they're definitely both.
Tell you what, guys, I'm in VIX, and I have been for over a week and a half now, because I noticed something back here. Market kept going to highs, but VIX said, I'm not having any more of it. And I think what this is people just buying insurance, whether it's me or Andy or a hedge fund of $2 billion. VIX is a way to buy insurance in case you wake up to that black swan one morning. And it's very curious to me that, we can't get this VIX to get back and make new lows down here with the market that just made a bunch of new highs recently. So that's an observation I want to definitely call out, and I do have a position in there. But again, it's kind of like insurance, as you would call it. So IWM, it just really can't get out of its own way. It threatens to do something, but that's a very long, protracted range for small caps. So remember how much fun we were having in small caps back here last summer and last fall. Totally different story here. And this is really going to dovetail to what I think, we're going to talk about today, for some trading advice, how to continue to adapt to the current environment. Bigger picture on the SPYs, they're just doing what they do. They grind higher, they find support at the 50, they get ahead of themselves 4 or 5 days, and then they pull the rug midday, and then it's just a matter of, how quickly can they seem to recover. But what's more interesting to me now is now that this market is back above all its moving averages again, let's take this moment and do our sector analysis. And for those that are new, what I like to try and do is go through here, and usually I can find at least 2 sectors to watch for tomorrow. Now, treasuries don't really interest me, but that's a nice looking pattern. So whatever that means, take that for what it's worth. They seem to be the strongest of the board today. All right, now we go into the REITs. REITs, I'm going to say super, super solid. I mean, that is a very, very strong chart. Likely to see some follow through if the market stays strong tomorrow in the REITs. Again, who knows why, but we can't argue with the price action. It's telling us that is a good looking consolidation setup, likely to see some follow through tomorrow. So I would add that to the short list. If you know any REIT stocks or real estate stocks that you really like out there, let me know. You had a thought on that, Andy. What was that? There was something you mentioned on why IYR.
Just real estate. The real estate.
Just real estate in general.
Everything. Yeah, asset.
Yeah, just the asset class of real estate. Okay,
yeah,
there you go. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of those REITs, they own, whether it's a shopping mall, they own the property, so asset values are going up.
Yeah, their asset values are going up, but the monthly income was a bit suspect there for a while.
Probably,
I got hung up on that. It's a perfect example of when the chart does not confirm the story in your head as to what it should be doing. So forget what I think about REITs. This chart is very strong. Gold miners today, they've been holding up kind of as well again. Feels like there's just kind of a solid base down here. Nothing pretty about that chart. I'm not saying watch them tomorrow, but they were strong today. What we're looking for is that setup. And I think last week when we spoke, I said keep an eye on XLV was one of them. Or maybe that was with Jamie, I can't recall, but it probably got ahead of itself. Not really a 5-star setup at the moment. So far, the only thing that looks really, really good is that IYR. XLF can't get out of its own way, quite honestly. Can't get back above that 50-day moving average. That's very significant to me, seeing the resistance there. What else we got? And then here's the residential homes. Not looking too bad. I'll tell you what, nice little consolidation there. You could probably make a case for in the next day or two, you might see a movement above there. And if you do, then you want to start going to your Toll Brothers, KB Homes, whatever home builders you like, Lennar. All right, so same vein, right? Home builders and real estate. Real estate's looking good going into tomorrow, I think. Energy, no. Oh, that was a different one, I'm sorry.
Regional banks.
That was the
Yeah.
banks, yes, thank you. Broker dealers, interestingly enough, they're looking kind of like they might want to do something, but you know, who knows? It's just a nice consolidation pattern. Not exactly a 5-star. Now we're into the Dow, the oil, junior miners. We did the S&P. What did the biotechs look like? You know, pretty steep pullback today, but that's nasty action. I'd rather look for some more semblance in my charts. Steel. Okay, so steel has been under pressure, but it posted a second day close above the 50-day moving average. That's probably notable, but not necessarily a 5-star setup. I'll just quickly go through the rest of these here. If I see something, these airlines still have a lot to work on as far as I'm concerned. They looked good for a while. And that's pretty much it. It looks like silver, that's a whole other story. Excuse me. No, nothing really, just a big mess there. Solars, they looked good for a day and then they fell apart. Yeah, I'm just going to say real estate. If you got your favorite real estate stocks tomorrow, you know, keep an eye on those because that's probably where the action could be, at least going by the sector chart and the way it's set up. All right, so that's where we are. It's also, you know, good to remind summer volumes are pretty low. Not too bad today in the SPY, but it's, you know, you can kind of feel the summer doldrums a little bit. But anything you want to add, Andy, on the market side?
No, I feel the same. You know, it's just I will say this: every time we do take out a high over the last you know, several months, we've had a hard time continuing. You know, it seems like we get that pullback. Remember how you discussed the channel? We go to the top of the channel, then we come down to the bottom of the channel. So well, we're close to the top of the channel again. So now is it time to possibly breathe and
Well,
pull
I know,
back some?
yeah, you were talking about the SPYs. That's what I was
Right,
talking about for sure. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
channelingstocks.com. You
Yeah.
can see it pretty easily right there.
So we're getting close there, and maybe we come back down and tag the 50 again. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
All
we'll
right.
see. All right. Well, I'll take it.
Take it off.
All right. Let me pull up the docked window. If you guys are not playing with the dock, this is the Omni channel. You can see it's on over here. And what the Omni channel is, it's basically just all three Hollies combined in one. Simple way to do that. If you're just you have Holly on your desktop, just make sure you go to segments and click on all, and you'll get all the trades coming through. Today, you know, not bad. I know it's been a rough ride over the last 3 or 4 days with Holly, and you know, I think it may be the summer, you know, light action that we're seeing. It's been tough for pretty much everybody's trading, including Holly's. Today wasn't all that bad. So a couple of really good trades. Then you did have a few stop outs, but you know, nothing really to write home about. And moderate profit, okay, according to my share size. And my share size is based on $200 risk at the stop loss. So in other words, I can never lose more than $200 if the price goes down to the stop price. And it allocates, goes out and buys the number of shares that would cause that to happen. So with using, like I said, my share allocation, moderate profit would have finished up $333 today. As we toggle through the rest, aggressive would have finished down for 86. Don't like talking about that one, anybody. You'd have to be crazy to use that. And conservative down about $285 in conservative. So as proven in our back office, moderate profit outperforms the other ones pretty handily. So it came true today. And basically what that means is you're holding the trade all the way till the end of the day versus getting out for any exit reason in which the conservative profit might get out, like a lot of these profit saves right here, like this AXTA, for example. Conservative profit got out for only $98, whereas if you would have held this all the way to the close, you would have made $384.
Human and machine.
That's right. Take a look at this beautiful short in DYHI. And I'm telling you guys, keep an eye on a lot of these pissant stocks that are popping lately. seeing a lot of them at some point really roll over and give it all back. A couple of them I were in to the long side, and I'm just, thank God that I got out when I did, because seeing a lot of this, if you have a decent broker with a good short book, you know, you may be able to take advantage of some of these, I like to call them pissants, stocks that just run, you know, for maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and then they'll give it all back up. Holly's been pegging a few of these lately, so keep an eye on that if you're not afraid to short sell. This was a beauty today, and you can see shorting it at 539, and it came all the way down to close around 383. That's a huge percentage gain. All right, you can see right here, moderate profit. Look at that, almost 30%.
The best part of that was the contrarian entry, which we're going to be talking a lot about here in a minute.
Yeah, yeah. But that was a good one, and I'm just not going to go through and just peg all the good ones, guys, because there was some ugly ones here. These two right here, from different strategies, but neither one of them worked. Looked like they were going to work, but just basically went sideways and did nothing, and did get stopped out. BNR is another short that didn't work. Looked, you know, me personally, if I see this big old move yesterday and a gap down, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, I'm really chasing here. I would rather caught this thing yesterday around $25, $26 versus chasing it down here near lows. But that's just me personally. I would never take a trade like that. You may ask, well, why is Holly taking it then? Well, Holly works not off emotions like I would be in this situation. Or just logic. She works more off numbers, okay? And our numbers tell us that, you know, back testing, this typically would work, but it didn't today. But all in all, you know, guys, you can see it here, about half winners, half losers, and cutting your losers and letting your winners run is the call of the day, and it typically is the call most of the days with our AI, which a lot of people can learn and apply to their regular trading. And I know it's tough. You get those profits, you want to take them, but boy, if you can learn to hang on to a little piece at a time, where you can build up, you know, change that way of thinking instead of cutting your losses too quick. I'm sorry, cutting your winners too quick. You learn to hang on to those for a big payday at the end of the day. But Steve, that's if you don't have anything to add, I think that's about it for it. Yep. All right, let me shoot it back to you.
All right, so the trade of the week this week, you know, triggered right off the bat again. But boy, you know, we're going to talk about this nasty, nasty stuff. This stuff has a habit of triggering and then retreating. What did I call it? Yeah, trigger retreat. I don't like the trigger retreat, but we're getting lots of trigger retreats. But the good news is, even after all that midday selling we had today in the S&P and the Qs, Kroger, the grocery store, marking up, you know, eggs and milk and all that inflationary stuff as we speak for tomorrow shoppers, the chart's doing okay. And I got to be honest with you, this I can't even tell you what scan this came off of. This came off of a survey. This was me asking the guys on Friday, what are you guys liking out there? And this one just really caught my eye because it was so clean, and I'll show you that's what it was. That's what the Friday Kroger chart looked like. A beautiful 4-day pullback for the most part with two nice bottoming tails, and the second one really just perfectly bouncing right off my favorite 10-day moving average. You know, I can't stop trusting charts that look like this, so that was the choice. But then we got the trigger and then the reversal, which we seem to be getting so many times now in today's price action. But the best news is when we talk about relative strength was very strong in Kroger today. So we need to keep the chart to confirm that relative strength, and any hint of strength in the market could be a nice tailwind. But I was very pleased the way it tested. Always in the morning, there it is, right? There's the morning test right there. There's that candle to test your will. But I like to wait until the end of the day, closing candle, to see what the closing candle looks like before we make our decisions. So yesterday it closed above the rising 10. Today it tested it, but really nice relative strength, definitively above the 10-day moving average. Curious what the A-table junior is on the stocks. Well, I can share it. It's a scan that I'll go to sometimes that have short float. I'll just go ahead and share. The A-table junior is just the same thing, but with stocks under $25. And one of the things you can do on this is you can change the score rating and bring in more stocks that have higher short floats. But I will drop that in there right now in the chat window for Jason. There's the cloud code. It's just a scan. It just gives you ideas. The jump rope isn't always perfect. But the trade of the week did not come from this scan this week. It came from more of an informal survey of the guys here at Trade Ideas. So no harm, no foul. Again, the rising sloping 20 is our out. A close below that red line is not what we want to see. But the test that we got today was a very nice pass of the 10-day moving average, and then boom, right back into play. This thing was kicked right back into play. So hopefully we'll get some nice movement in the remaining 3 days this week, and we can look back on that one. Yeah, SPRT, I already talked about that one, but it's just a reminder to never lose track of some of these. If they don't always do what we want them to do in the first week, well, the second or third week could really show up. So don't lose track of these. All right, here's how I'm going to come into the next segment here. Remember last week we did a little price alert contest? And I'm going to click on these only to make my point, not to really call anybody out because I'm not doing much better. Okay, so staff, let's take a look at staff. And what I want you guys to focus on was the alert that was set about 5 days ago. And these are green triggers. Staff triggered and gave you the old trigger retreat. Not cool. Don't like that. Okay. This one was ATOS. Oh boy, just kissed it higher and then retreated, now lower than it was. DocuSign, I think was probably the strongest of all of them. Just tickled the new high, ran out of gas, came back, and interestingly enough, guys, if you're with us today, look at where it picked up support, right at my 10-day moving average, right there on the low of the day. Interesting. But the reason I'm going through these, and one more AMC, oh yeah, trigger retreat. That's all we seem to see lately. And so don't feel bad and think that you're not a great trader. It's just the market that we have. And I am primarily a swing trader. I should even say primarily, I am a swing trader. I really don't enjoy day trading. I used to do it a lot, but I don't really enjoy it as much anymore. There's too much noise for me. But what I want to do is maybe try and make sense of some of the noise out there for some of you people who do want to do some day trading. And Andy's literally been one of them. I've watched him make some plays. And so it occurred to me, why don't I go back in the well? We had a scan way back when I used to talk a lot about, and Michael created it. It's called bouncers. And this is the perfect kind of a real-time alert to try and make sense of the chaos and the noise that we're finding ourselves with these trigger retreats. That's why I'm saying it's very hard to follow the herd and buy breakouts and look for follow-through. Andy said the same thing. It just doesn't work. You've got to be contrarian in your thinking because there's just so much noise out there. So if we break the scan open, just so you can see what it is, first thing I'm gonna tell you is I brought up the optimized version. The reason I know that is because I've got all these 99, 59 values in there. Those are values that I created by doing an optimization, which we'll touch on briefly in a moment. But the gist of this scan is crossed above resistance, okay? And the resistance that we're calling out is this one right here, position in previous day's range, 1 to the 10th percentile. So 1% above yesterday's low, but no more than 10% above yesterday's low. And then using this event, crossing above resistance, oops, there it went, that Michael created, it kind of finds things that are just bouncing back and forth, taking out yesterday's lows and then bouncing hard after taking out yesterday's lows. That's literally what we're looking for here. Now, I don't think I got a great example today. I think there's only one that came out and it failed, but yesterday, and by the way, we had a lot of selling in the market today. Oops, let's go to yesterday. There were some interesting ones in there. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, I think Otis was one of them. Yeah, so yesterday, you see the blue arrow, it took out the prior day's low, and then when it started to bounce, it gave us an alert. What about this one? Oh, that one it was rather calm yesterday, but the day before that, if we go to one more day before that, we're gonna start to see some interesting ones. Okay, MMP. So let's look, I want you guys to highlight right here. This is where it's all happening, okay? Just a simple little chart. The morning selling took out the prior day's low, and then once it crossed above yesterday's low reversal, we get this little signal arrow. So what I'm saying is more often than not, when the market's noisy, and if you're a day trader and you're looking for 30, 45 minute, 60-minute holds, it's just the way the price action seems to work. Now, these can fall apart after a couple hours, but what seems to be happening is the price action takes out yesterday's lows, tries to run the stops, and then the price action reverses for a short period of time. So that was that example. I think there's a couple other decent ones that happened 2 days ago in here. There's that one. Well, you can see how short-lived that one was. I know I saw some better ones in here a couple days ago. Yeah, we're starting to go back 4 or 5 days, but it's essentially just looking to try and play the noise. And I'm going to show you something real right now. Maybe you're not super impressed, but when we go and we back test this, let's back test this and say, let's say I want to just hold this kind of stuff for 45 minutes, you know, and I don't want to risk more than, let's change this up. I don't want to risk more than 1%. And if I can make 3%, I'll be happy. And we're going to go ahead and 64 days this. We're going to go all the way back. And let's just see what happens. And again, this was an optimized version that I kind of created after doing a few scans and then jiggering and refiltering and doing that. Oh, that would be a question for you, Andy, that Bruce is asking there. I think
Yeah,
Bruce, what
I'm
he was
answering
talking.
it. I'm answering it right now. Yep.
And I think I know what needs to be said too. All right, so let's wait for that. Okay, nothing really special, but we've got a lot of trades here. I'm going to do a quick version of optimization to show you. There's just a couple things you can do. We can go to optimization and we can say, all right, well, this is interesting, and this makes perfect sense to me. It's because we're only risking 1% to try and make 3. And a lot of these noisy moves seem to happen above $50. Look at that. You can see the heat map is literally showing you that this strategy works best on stocks above 50. So what we do is we right click and we say set the strategy minimum value at $50. Takes us to our config window, and we've now locked that change in. Okay. One more change is time of day. If we look at the time of day here, we've got one little area of pink, but pretty much from the open all the way into about, I'm going to call it 9:30, that last good chunk right there. Those are some good green heat map numbers that tell us the time of day when this alert triggers is giving us better results than waiting for the stuff that's triggering at the end of the day. So we're going to run it again, but we're going to stop it at 9:30 my time, which is 12:30 Eastern. Assuming it lets me not be frozen here. All right, so let's just go ahead and run that same strategy again. The only changes we made were we've got a smaller time window that we're accepting trades, and we're also, yeah, Bill, it's kind of similar to the jam down. It works better in the morning. Okay, so increasing a little bit. There's a lot of things you can probably do to play with this scan. Again, I just kind of took it off the shelf. And if somebody really wanted to play with this and optimize it even more, what you can do is you can go in to the configuration, which of course I will give you. We're going to show you a second scan too, but anytime you see something like 159, 79.99, those have all been optimized. And so you could literally clear those fields out and then run another back test and start over. But if you wanted to, you could re-optimize, and real quickly, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you how you can do that. We'll just simulate that by real quick. Not a dumb question, Brent. How do you change symbols? You click the chart first. Now I've highlighted the chart, and I just start typing. You just start typing away once that window focus is on, and that'll get you the next symbol, Brent. Okay, before I move on to the next scan that might be of value to day traders, just looking for short-term moves. Again, the optimization, I went through the price and time of day, but this right here, this other filter, this is where you can go down the rabbit hole. You can say, all right now it's based on percent of float of the day. What if I wanted to say, maybe I'm a fan of RSI. Let me see what the heat map of RSI looks like. Relative. No, I know I saw RSI in here somewhere. Hang on one second. There it is. RSI. Okay, 15-minute RSI. Let's select 15-minute RSI. And all of a sudden, hey, interesting, look at this. 30 to 50 seems to kind of be giving us the best green heat map. So we could literally come in here and say, right click, make that 30 level my minimum value, and we're going to create a filter for 15-minute RSI. So I can do the same for the maximum down here. I'm not going to do it because, again, we can take a lot of time, but what I wanted to show you is that I'm going to hand this scan out, and if you wanted to clear out a lot of those settings that had the 99s in it, you can start from scratch and kind of do your own optimization, because this optimization was done 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. I didn't redo it for the webinar. I've got another one I want to show you. So we'll go ahead and we will save and share bouncers. Oh, and I have one more thought before we go. Let's say you're not scared of short selling. Well, you can take a concept like this. Again, remember the concept was taking out yesterday's lows and then triggering us when it took out yesterday's lows back to the upside and came back up through resistance. You can take that scan and you can duplicate it like so. And then you go to configure and you hit this button down here, flip. Notice the green will turn to a breakdown of support, crossed below support. All of the filters automatically invert themselves that need to be, and you now have something that will give you things that popped up and should be sold because they came back in. Let's see what this one looked like. This was TSN, so it came out right about here, and it looks like, yeah, that would have been a decent 60-minute short sell. So the point of me showing you this is that you can take any concept here and flip it upside down and invert it. In this case, we got 4. We got 4 ideas. That one went nowhere to the downside. That one gave you a nice good 60 minutes to the downside. Oh, it's the same one. And then AEP did not work. But the point is, you guys know that you can always duplicate and then flip and invert a concept to see what it would look like without racking your brain to try and figure out what the settings should be. Okay, so bouncers came to mind when trying to navigate a noisy market using contrarian entries and not holding and not sticking around for very long. And again, there's probably some work that can be done on that one to really improve the optimization for the current environment. The second window, and this is the one that I heard Andy and the other guys kind of talking about today on doing some day trading, they're basically just following Barry's style. And Barry's one of his oldest tried and true to tested methods is to go to where the action is, and where the action is usually where the volume of the is where the option volume is. So when we go to configure this one, we're going to see some options volume. Okay, 2,000 contracts is a lot of contracts. 300% would be any stock that normally does normal options volume, calls or puts. Would be a 100 value. But when we have a minimum 300 value, that means that this particular stock today, against its own database, for some reason is doing 3 times normal option. And if you're an options player, you kind of understand the leverage and why sometimes that could be kind of a secret tip of the hand or a secret tell as to where the real action is. And if you're a day trader, the first one I showed you, okay, you're kind of playing the statistics, you're kind of playing the odds. There's nothing really sexy or nice about it, but it works for the most part. This one, you're saying, I only want to play the action. I only want to follow and put my money to risk where there is lots and lots of volume. And if I'm wrong, hopefully I can get out pretty quick and make sense of it. And if I'm right, then the volume will show up on the chart as a nice smooth chart. So there was, I think, only 2 or 3 today that came through this one. APT, the guys, I wasn't participating, but Andy and the other guys were, and boy, that's some fun action when you're on the right side of it. But seems like things don't want to do what you want them to do for longer than 60 or 90 minutes these days before they kind of turn into a mind of their own. That's a very ugly daily chart indeed, but for the most part, it's making higher lows, but it's doing so in a very difficult fashion. So every time APT came through here, it was a reminder today the stock was going to highs, and it was doing so with tremendous options volume. 28,000 contracts showing up in that column there. 1,000, so doing 10 times normal option volume was APT today. We had another one earlier, INTZ, playing the action, doing 20 times normal option volume, it appears, in that particular column. And so a really nice push this morning, 1, 2, 3, about 1 hour, and then it just starts to get crazy. So, 60 minutes is a very doable time frame if you got things working in your direction. But beyond that, you're kind of rolling the dice in today's noisy market. And then let's see what else did we get here. These were earlier this morning, I think. Well, GPK was giving us early warnings that it was doing something this morning. Walter White, you like that one, Andy? WL.
That's a good one.
Walter White. Walter White didn't do a whole lot. He kind of died off. But APT and INTZ. And the nice thing I like about this scan is you're not getting 57 different symbols to try and choose from. You're getting a couple of really solid ideas. And again, the concept is options volume is really why these things are in motion today. And if you're not in Barry's room playing these things, you should be, because it's free and that's a good price. So just trying to hand out two concepts today using trade ideas, scans as day trading ideas, and trying to illustrate in some of these charts I've shown you that it's very hard to get things to move longer than 60 minutes, it seems like. Are these call options or put options? They're both, Beth. So if you're going to see something to the downside, let's see, this would be a new high window. So that's a great question. What you could do, Beth, is I'm going to give you this scan, and then when you've got it, you can take it and duplicate it. And then after duplicating it, come over here and flip it. And let's see what it did. Okay, we got new lows instead of new highs now. We've got options volume today, so it's going to be the same thing, it looks like, whether it's puts or calls. But I think when you see new highs or new lows, you kind of realize what side of the ledger those options are being stacked on. Am I reading that right, Andy?
You could, and you can also add some columns to it, so you can see whether the number of call options versus the number of.
Okay, let's do that real quick.
Yeah.
So we go to search and we type in the keyword call volume today. Okay, so you could put this as a column in there and monitor that column. Also, you could say put volume. Okay, so you could grab both of those, you highlight it, and you just click show column, and it'll give you that column. So you could probably really break down and discern what is what. But when things are racing to new highs, up 10% on the day, I'm going to guess the options are skewed to the call side. All right, so I'm going to share this out, and then again, anybody can do that. Just duplicate it and flip it, and keep an eye on a couple names tomorrow that come through here, and they might be in play for day trading. Okay,
sure.
I'm going to call this day trading with unusually strong volume. And there is the cloud link, and it's in the chat window, not the questions window. All right. I guess that's it. Anything you want to add? I know you've been talking a lot about your webinars too, and the same thing I've been talking about.
Well, yeah. It's I know how tough it's been. It's like Twitter. Pull up Twitter. It's it just frustrates me to death. So.
By the way, one of the short list names for trade of the week. It was scared to pull the trigger.
But it had to take out that.
Yeah, it would have been a no trade. It would have been sitting here looking at no trade. Yeah.
Yeah, but I bought it on the day after earnings, and that bar, that candle he was just showing you, up, closed at a 3-month high, and things were looking good. And then
great
the next
buy,
day,
by the way. He waited for the gap to fill and bought off the 10 SMA. Perfect entry point.
Yeah. And boy, I thought, oh boy, I got this, because it finished up, closed on a 3-month high, strong, earnings. And the next day, look what happened. And remember, the market was way up on this next day, and this thing sold off 5%. I'm thinking, okay, great. Well, I held on to that one because it did close above it closed right at the moving averages. Steve's going to show you there. So I held on. I didn't get stopped out. But today, I did. You got to draw the line in the sand somewhere, and actually it did close below the moving averages now, so I would not be comfortable holding it overnight anyway. So
this was what we talked about 3 weeks ago: the uncle candle, the rip the band-aid candle, the Armageddon candle, the it's over candle, whatever you want to call it. I don't like it when they close below the key moving averages, because sometimes, hey, I gave GameStop as an example. If you had used the close below the 50-day moving average in GameStop, that day right there, you wouldn't
save yourself a lot of pain.
Yeah, save yourself a lot of pain. All right.
Uh,
Well, anything else?
Bruce,
I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask Bruce if he understood that, because if not, you can
I'll
show
show
him
you.
where you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you can go to tools. Yeah.
Okay. So Andy has his AI tab right here. Mine is set on 100 based on stop loss. So any new trade that comes out, the stop loss is going to set the share size of the trade, simulated trade, at worst case scenario, $100 loss. So Andy's would have been 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it'll go out and buy the number of shares. So you will lose $200 if it does go
Yeah.
to the stop. So I hope that makes sense to you, Bruce. And it doesn't matter what the price is; it's going to calculate it accordingly.
Yeah. So whatever Andy is doing, I'm always doing half of what he's doing, probably just by the default of that alone.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's kind of all I got today. Any other questions anybody needs help with? I can hang out for a couple minutes or two. I can look at a chart if you want, but that's really all the prepared content I've got for you today. It's very hard for swing traders like myself out there right now. We're not getting multiple follow through days. We're only getting multiple follow through hours, if that. So you've got to adjust accordingly. Me, I'm just kind of pulling back, watching, sitting in cash, doing a couple things here and there. I've got a couple of things working, and I've got that VIX. I'm not ashamed to say, just in case, it's insurance. If this thing shows me that people are no longer interested in insurance and it breaks and closes below 30, I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off and say, nope, that's not working. I'm going to forget. I'm going to take my insurance off the table and get out.
It's
Okay, so go ahead.
did have one. We had one question about Holly in there. See, I am new here, but I have heard nothing previously presented. Is there an option to have a Holly trade your account?
Hmm.
And well, we do have auto trading, if that's what you're referring to. But I would think you've heard about that.
Yeah, you
And
got to be with interactive brokers right now. If you have an account with them, you can link the AI up to an interactive brokerage account. And as time goes on, there'll be more options available. But if you want more information and more stuff to be sent back to you on that, just email us info@trade-ideas.com.
yeah, send us an email, Michelle. We'll send you some good
Yeah.
videos that you can watch, short ones that you can watch and learn all about the AI and how it works. That's probably the best way, instead of us having to try to explain it to you here.
All right, we'll do a couple of charts here for Dave, Girish, and Jim. The email is info@trade-ideas.com. I'll type that in the chat window.
I am.
Info. Okay. So I'll start off with the first chart for Dave, ROL and EXC, just to get an opinion. Looking like a good trend. It's probably gonna, hey, if it touches that 10-day moving average on the open tomorrow, it could be a jam down buy for you. EXC, did I do that right?
Where are you seeing the XC?
On Dave's
Oh, I
charts,
see.
ROL and
Oh,
EXC. EXC had a good one today, but it's running right into that resistance. That's exactly where the sellers showed up. And it's one to watch for tomorrow, but I don't, coming off the heels of everything I've just been saying, I wouldn't trust any follow through much beyond there, quite honestly. CVS, swing play along. Let's see what it looks like. Well, it's under its 50-day moving average, and in order for me to get really interested in something again, it's starting to get a couple things going here above those two averages, but it needs to do a couple more closes above that 50 before I would say the stock gets healthy. And you can see on the way up, it was paying close attention to the 50, and then it gave it up. So I would expect it to pay close attention again, but probably with resistance this time. We're still working on the E-Trade auto trades, still working on the bugs on that one. AMC did try and do something recently. I know that, but it gave away its 50. And what I noticed is that it got it back. It got it back for 2 days, and then it lost its 50-day moving average again. And it's just kind of wallowing around down here. These are tough ones. These things can just take off like a dart for no reason whatsoever, AMC and GameStop. But if that was a chart, I'm just kind of say that's just kind of in no man's land unless it can get back above that 50-day moving average. There's not much of a delay at all, Laura. Once the new high comes out and you have your order parameters set, the order is sent directly to interactive brokers, and it happens pretty quick. If it's a high spread stock and you've got a bunch of people trying to get the same stock, well, then it comes down to how much more are you willing to pay for it, 5 cents, 7 cents, but that's all discussed, of course. Can I set up a scanner to look for 2 different RSI values, SMAs, and Vwops?
No.
Do you understand that question?
Yeah, no, you can't. The RSI is set at the standard. I can't remember the exact numbers of what it is, but it's a 14-day, and
Okay,
yeah,
that's right.
and there's no RSI for the VWAP. Yeah, we don't have that indicator. Sorry.
All right, 2 more, then we'll bring Scott in for Kevin. The first one is FCX copper. I was bullish copper for a while, but it really fell out of bed. But you can see it's trying. Same old story. If this thing can get back above the 50-day moving average, it might be interesting. I was long TGB off and on many times last year and early this year. Finally gave up on it when it broke the 50 back here, and it has saved me all of that anguish, which is nice. All right, last one, and we'll bring Scott in, Micron Semiconductor. Technically, this one's hurting. I mean, whatever the story is, the chart is not confirming it. That's one big giant rainbow. I mean, that'd be like the biggest base of all you'd call on the downside if we were looking to go long. But this thing just seems to run into trouble every opportunity it gets. It can't close above its 50. It gave up the 20, the 10, and now it's closing below the 200. For whatever reason, this one is a little sickly. We could look left and make a case for the fact that that resistance right there could become future support if it holds above 73.70, but I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, other than that, it needs to get above 80.
All right, great question to end on before I bring Scott in. When is your next quarterly test drive?
Scott will have a slide.
Scott, I'm going to have a slide for it, and it's coming up sooner than you think, John. So let's take a look. All right.
Yeah, thank you. A couple items on the way out. Before we talk about that test drive, make sure you get the Favorite Strategy Indicators ebook. It's written by our Director of Software Development, the guy that created Holly and our backtesting module. So go ahead and go to tradeIdeas.com/strategy, grab that. You can also find our podcast by searching for Trade Ideas Podcast wherever you listen to your pods. We should have some new eps out pretty soon, but more importantly, there's the test drive that's coming up. Starts on August 9th. Be sure you sign up ahead of time so you get the full 2 weeks. It's $11.11 for 2 full weeks of premium trade ideas. That's all the features, all the you get full access to the AIs, the backtesting module. We're gonna have some special educational sessions live during the day, and of course the trading room is always available too. So go to tradeIdeas.com/test drive, trade-ideas.com/test drive. Sign up so you don't miss out. If you decide you want to start a subscription now, go ahead and grab that code Sunshine, and you can do an upgrade or start a new subscription and save 15% off your first installment of Trade Ideas. If you have any questions at all, email us info@tradeideas.com. It goes to our help desk, gets you the help you need as quickly as possible. You can also find Steve on Twitter at TISteveG, and also find us at Trade Ideas. And we're at our Facebook handle is Trade Ideas Pro. So go ahead and like that page and share it with your friends. Thanks, everyone. We'll get the recording of this up later on tonight or tomorrow, and you can email a reminder tomorrow about how to find it. Thanks, Steve and Andy. Have a good one.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys. No, I won't see you on Thursday. Actually, I'm going to be on vacation, but see you next week. Bye-bye.